Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. My name is Kathy Richardson, and I'm a certified weight loss coach here in Canada, and I've lost 150 pounds, and I'm keeping it off too. I became a weight loss coach to help people who were just like myself, who had gained and lost weight over and over and over again for me for 25 years, and just wanted to get off the crazy train and finally find some food freedom and some peace and some serenity and enjoy life in maintenance. And that's what I'm doing. And that's what I'm here to help you do too. But I know you don't know me. And this is my very first episode ever. So I wanted to explain myself a little bit. So grab a cup of coffee, grab your water, grab some tea, and come sit down and have what I like to call a cat chat with me. Now, I'm 45 years old. And when I was a child, I didn't really become overweight until about third or fourth grade. And I've often thought back about why that weight started to pile on. And to be honest, even with doing some soul searching, I don't really know. I do know that I had two parents who were overweight, and I had an older brother and sister, and they too were also slightly overweight. And we know enough to know that genetics can come into play somewhat, and you can only eat the foods that are in front of you. And my mom cooked very good, healthy meals, and we didn't eat out a lot, but I did start overeating around that time. And when you're an overweight kid, that comes with a lot of social issues. And I got made fun of a lot, like a lot. I can remember staying the night at a friend's house and needing a nightgown to wear. And even the friend's mother being like, I don't know if my stuff is going to fit you. And never being able to share clothes with any of my friends. And it was hard. You were always picked last in gym class because nobody wanted the fat girl on their team. And even if you were good at sports, it just seemed like you automatically had an X against you somehow. So that continued on until I was in about eighth grade. And that is when I would say I lost my baby fat. I started my period the year before. I was involved in cheerleading. And so I was kind of active, and I just sort of grew out of it. And then I blossomed into uh, a teenager that was a very healthy weight. And for the first time in many years, I was able to wear whatever I wanted to. And it was fabulous. And I did play a bunch of different sports in high school. And I was never really like awesome at sports, but I wasn't the worst. I was just sort of mediocre. But again, I was healthy and I was active. And at the time, considered myself to be living my best life. And even my senior year in high school, before going to the University of Maine, I entered a beauty pageant. It was a local one, and it was called the Miss International pageant. And I actually ended up winning. And that required walking the stage in a bathing suit and doing the whole evening gown and the whole 9 yards. And because I won that, I actually had to go on to the Miss Maine pageant, which is part of the Miss America system. And in between winning Miss International and walking the stage at Miss Maine, my freshman year of university happened. Now, some people gain the freshman 15. I happened to gain the freshman 40. And that was rough. That was a very transitional year for me, leaving home for the first time and being responsible for all my food choices myself. And like a lot of 18-year-olds, I didn't show a whole lot of restraint. I was in the Army ROTC program, and I even had to do physical fitness Monday, Wednesday, and Friday most weeks. And I did try to exercise, and I played on a few intramural volleyball teams even while at UMaine. And I went to the gym a lot, and I was swimming, and I was actually a lifeguard as part of my work study program. But I still overate. And that, looking back now, is probably one of my biggest problems that attributed to my weight gain. And I remained overweight the whole time I was in university. And then I became engaged my senior year and got married in August of 2000. My wedding dress was a size 24. The second I became engaged to my husband, I gained all kinds of happy weight. And that continued as a pattern after we got married. He gained weight too. And then 6 months after we were married, I became pregnant. I was teaching. I was married to the love of my life, expecting my first child, and I was on top of the world. And then in July, before we had even celebrated our first wedding anniversary, this would be July 2001, I started having some problems, and we found out that I actually had kidney cancer. I was 5 months pregnant at the time, and I had renal cell carcinoma at just shy of my 23rd birthday. That was very unexpected, to say the least. I had to have my right kidney removed while I was still pregnant with our little girl. And thank God I've been fine ever since. And she's been fine ever since. She's actually 22 years old and is now a registered nurse. And we went on to have one more child after that in 2003. And it sort of seemed like my health problems were behind us now. Well, fast forward a few more years and a few more pounds, and I started having some pins and needles sensations and a lot of migraines. And long story short, in 2007, I then got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. So after beating cancer, that was a little bit of a bummer, as you could imagine. And that required going on therapy treatments. It was injections I had to give myself every other day for about 7 or 8 years. And over the course of that, I also developed a secondary disease with my MS called trigeminal neuralgia, which is intense nerve facial pain. And it's actually called the suicide's disease. It's one of the most painful conditions known to man. And just perpetuated the cycle of all kinds of medication, all kinds of pain medication, all kinds of steroids. And I remained obese until the last 4 years. And so instead of focusing on all the illnesses and everything, the part that I really want to focus on is in 2012, I did actually successfully lose 65 pounds. I'm 5'8", and I did get down to below 200 pounds. I saw 199 on the scale for like a minute, but I did the ketogenic diet for a little over a year. And I kept it off all but 10 pounds for probably 2 years. But then slowly but surely, things happened again, and I got diagnosed with an adrenal tumor that was unrelated to my kidney cancer tumor, although it was on the same side. But that led to even more medication and even more tests and even more problems. And by 2018, we went on a cruise with our kids, and I came home from the cruise and I weighed myself, and I weighed 280 pounds. And after that, I just stopped checking. I didn't care to see that number go any higher, though I know it did. And then in 2020, during the pandemic, when the whole world shut down, there was all this talk about lockdown weight, and I had just had enough. Noom was a very popular weight loss regime, and it was one of the only ones I hadn't tried. So I thought, well, let's try this one. Here, take my money. And I tried Noom, and I lost a little bit of weight, but eventually I made my way back to low carb. Now, at the same time, my husband started doing intermittent fasting, and that was not nearly as popular almost 4 years ago as it is now. And I thought, well, what do I have to lose? Because I kind of stopped losing weight on Noom too. I maybe lost 20 pounds, but it seemed like no matter what I did, I could lose 20 or 30 pounds, but I really had to fight to keep it off. And eventually I just stopped fighting. And I didn't even have to eat that much to stay obese. And at this point, I was morbidly obese. So I did give fasting a whirl. And I also did some extended fasting, and I made some progress. I dropped 25 pounds and was feeling pretty good. And in January 1st of 2021, I started the 75 Hard program. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, there's a laundry list of things that you have to do every day, no matter what, including 2 45-minute workouts, one being outside. And I live in Canada, and I was doing this in January. So that meant being outside sometimes in minus 40 Celsius weather, snow, sleet, rain, doesn't matter. You worked out. And I did it. I did it on the first try. I was like a dog with a bone, and nothing was getting in my way. I did start losing weight because you do have to adhere to a pretty strict diet of your choice, but there is no chocolate. There are no treat days. Those are all immediate fails. And I'm very much a black and white person. And I'm like a dog with a bone, like I said, when I have a goal, and nothing was stopping me from completing 75 Hard on my first try. And I did it. I even ended up having an MS relapse during it, and I still completed it. And so, yeah, I lost like 35 pounds doing the 75 Hard program. At that same time, during those 75 days, I had gotten a phone call from a bariatric clinic in my province. And I'd been on this wait list for over 6 years at this point. When I developed that adrenal gland, I got referred to an endocrinologist. And the first thing he did, seeing my weight, he put in a requisition or a consult to a bariatric surgeon. And that was always going to be my red button emergency. Nothing else had worked. Then we would pursue that. But I was kind of arrogant during 75 hard because things were going so well and I was losing weight. I thought, I don't need this surgery. And, maybe I wouldn't have. I've had a lot of people ask me, like, do you think you could have lost this weight without surgery? And looking back now, I do, but I think it would have taken a very, very, very long time. And I don't know that I ever would have lost as much weight as I have, but we'll table that for a little bit later. But anyways, I ended up going to the first appointment because I thought, well, I mean, living in Canada, you can have some very long wait times. And I had waited literally years for this. And I thought I didn't want my doctor to be mad at me and not go on the appointment that he had put in. So I went just to hear what they had to say. Came home and I thought, nope, that's not for me. Continued on with phase 1 of 75 hard, which had additional tasks. And, but then never canceled the next appointment at the bariatric clinic. And at that point, I knew I was a good candidate. There's a lot of behind the scenes work they make you do before you can have the surgery. You have to have a sleep study and rule out sleep apnea. You have to have a GI scope to make sure that your stomach is a good candidate for the surgery. You have to have cardiac tests done. You have to have a meeting with a psychologist and a dietitian. There's a myriad of things that you have to do before you become a candidate. And so I went through the motions, but still was never really committed to having the surgery until one day I happened to watch a documentary. It was made in the UK and it's called Postmortem Obesity. And it was an actual autopsy of, I believe, a 62 or 64-year-old woman. I'm not sure of her BMI. She was either obese or overweight. I believe she was obese, but not morbidly obese like I was. And she died of a heart attack in her early 60s. That scared the bejumpings out of me. My mother, at 62, who had never smoked a day in her life, had already had open heart surgery. My father is a type 2 diabetic. I have MS. I'm a cancer survivor. I have one kidney. And, I had at one point tipped the scales of over 280 pounds. I was morbidly obese. And I knew things weren't going well for me in the health department because of my weight, not even because of everything else. After seeing that autopsy, I called the bariatric clinic the next day and said I was ready to book my surgery. In the meantime, I had a regular checkup with my nephrologist. And it's a very scary time when you have a healthcare professional sit you down, look you deadpan in the face, and say, if you continue on this trajectory that you're on, with one kidney and at the weight that you are, and with a family history of diabetes and heart disease, this game doesn't end well for you. You likely won't have a 70th birthday. You could even maybe not have a 65th or a 60th birthday. And at 42 at the time, that was enough for me. And it scared me straight. And I knew that I had to take extra measures to lose my weight. So on November 23rd of 2021, I had vertical sleeve gastrectomy. And I expected the weight loss to be rapid, and it really wasn't. And people's path with the sleeve surgery can go one of two ways. Some people are very, very successful and they lose weight quickly, and some people struggle and never get to their goal weight. And by the time I was about 6 months out, things were really starting to slow down. And my surgeon was awesome. He had very realistic results for me. My surgery weight was 235 pounds. And at my 6-month checkup, I believe I was in the 180s somewhere. And he was happy for me to just stay there. But I wasn't. I figured if we're going to do this, let's really do this. I didn't want to just be borderline obese / overweight. I didn't even want to be overweight. I wanted to be a healthy, normal weight and continue that for the rest of my life. I knew if, God forbid, I ever lost my mobility with my multiple sclerosis, if someone was going to be bathing me and dressing me, I didn't want them having to wash in between fat roll folds that were getting infected and having rashes and have them hauling their backs out. I didn't want my children hauling on me and hurting themselves. Um, I've seen that with other family members, and that's not pretty and that doesn't end well. And I didn't want that for me, and I didn't want that for my family. And I knew the best thing for me and my health was to enter into the healthy weight range, to be a healthy, normal BMI. And I was determined and I knew it was possible. So I started exploring alternative ways to make sure that I got to that goal. And by the time I was 9 months post-op, weight had completely stalled. I almost completely stalled between month 6 and months 9. And I talked to my endocrinologist and I talked to my surgeon, and they agreed that it wouldn't be harmful for me to try the medication Ozempic. Now, I had been on Ozempic before surgery and before 75 hard. Uh, it was a GLP-1 drug and it was called Victoza. And I was on that, but later kind of became Ozempic became the new name brand. And even at off script high doses of like 2 milligrams, I still didn't really lose that, like maybe 10 pounds. But they thought it might be beneficial because of my adrenal tumor to try Ozempic one more time for a little while just to see if it could help me with the appetite that came back ferociously. Even before my 12-month post-op anniversary, appetite was coming back massively. And they thought it just might help keep things under control so that I didn't regain back what little I had lost at this point. And so Ozempic did help some, but I also started intermittent fasting again. I really didn't see how eating a little bit of whatever I want was going to serve me well. It was not making sense to me to eat whatever carbohydrates I wanted with some protein. And, just I didn't really feel like what works for everybody else was going to work for me. And then I got seeing through all of the Facebook groups I was on, probably 10 or 15 different bariatric specific Facebook groups. And 95% of the posts were all people saying, help, I need help. I didn't get to goal. Help, I have regained. Help, I've gained back all my weight. Or help, I'm giving up because I can't get below a 30-pound loss from the day of surgery. And I just saw this scenario happening over and over and over, and it was happening to me. And I thought, okay, just surgery alone is not the answer. Just a weight loss drug alone is not the answer. There are many ways to skin a cat when it comes to weight loss. And because obesity is a multifaceted disease, I knew it was going to require a multifaceted approach for most people, and that included myself. So I started intermittent fasting again, and boom, all of a sudden that needle started going down in my favor again. I was able to start the Couch to 5K program. I started swimming again, and swimming and running, and I just had a whole new life and started living my best life. So my second year out from surgery, I did take Ozempic at the lowest dose prescribed, which is 0.5 milligrams, for about 6 months. Here in Canada, there became a shortage of it, and I wasn't able to take it anymore. And I haven't been on it for quite some time now, and I've still been able to maintain. So what effect the Ozempic had on me the second time around, I'm not quite sure. If it helped me, great. If it helps you, great. But I didn't and I don't need it to maintain my weight now, which is really great. And I believe that's because I've finally found the sweet spots of how to lose weight. And this is a culmination of everything leading up to this. Before surgery, after surgery, before fasting, with low carb. When I tell you I had tried every diet out there, I'm not kidding. I really had. And it's not that none of them work, but it's finding certain parts of all of them that do work and combining them into a doable, long-term, for the rest of your life, sustainable thing. Anybody can lose weight, but not everybody can keep it off. And if the method isn't sustainable, your results are not going to be maintainable. And now I finally have found what is sustainable and thus maintainable. And that's what I want to share with you. And so along this journey, many people in my life and on my social media platforms saw my success. And so for the last year, I had been coaching people on the side. And I found there is a huge demographic of people that have a giant disconnect between sitting down with their doctor and having the discussion that they're obese, overweight, or morbidly obese, and then becoming a healthy person in maintenance. There's a huge gap there. And I thought, okay, people need help, whether they've had surgery before or not, whether they're on a GLP-1 med or not, whether they're diabetic or not. People need help. And I'm one of the lucky people who's made it to the other side and have success to share. And I thought, okay, there's got to be a way to do something with all this information. I do have my Bachelor of Science. I was a science teacher for 8 years, and my concentration was in science, and that included nutrition classes. But more importantly, I'm in what we call an N1. I have my own personal journey and my own personal story that matters. I've learned a lot on the way. I've done the deep dive into weight loss and fasting and bariatric information. I've been doing all of this since about 2012 when I first started keto for the first time. I've read every book you could read. I've listened to every podcast. I've done the work so that you don't have to. And there was a lot I didn't need or didn't have to learn in this process. So I've gone and done the legwork that you probably don't have time to do. And I'm going to share with you all the important parts because I know you don't have time to do what I've done in the last 10 years, and especially in the last 4 years. And so this is where I come to you now with this channel. I really hope we can go on this journey together. I want to share with you what I have learned through my own experience and through my education. And I want to share with you what I learned as becoming a weight loss coach. When person after person after person asked me to help them lose weight, I decided to take the jump and to actually take the courses and become a certified weight loss coach. And that's what I did. And I even took some additional courses too on things like gut microbiome health and emotional eating and even a healing of fatty liver. There's an endless amount of upgrades that can be done along with being a weight loss coach. And I'm so excited to even keep learning and to keep sharing with you. But basically, that's where we're at now. I want to work with you on this channel and help you fill the gap between doctor and Weight Watcher meeting or doctor and reading one more diet book and not being successful. I hope that I can help you. I know that I can help you. I know I'm already helping so many other people and they're doing great with their weight loss already. So there's a lot of progress we can make together. And I want to help share some recipes with you. I want to help dispel some weight loss myths with you. I want to help educate you on very simple, basic things like what is a macronutrient and do calories matter? Do all carbs count? There's so many things that we're going to talk about in this channel. So if you're excited to learn more, stick around, hit that like button and hit the subscribe notifications and hit the bell so that you can be notified whenever I have new content on here. This is my first video. It's not perfect. I'm hoping that as we go along this journey together, I will get better at producing better content and better videos while you're losing weight and keeping it off for the last time. And with that, it's great to see you. Thanks for joining my cat chat. We'll talk again soon. Bye.